Hey guys, welcome back again to the Cut Light and Smoke podcast presented by Zeal Cigars, cigarsoapbox.com, and as always, coming to you live in beautiful sunny Phoenix in the Huddle Up Store studios. So I'm here, I'm Bradley, along with my co-host JB. JB, say what's up to the people.
What's going on?
Yeah, and today we are talking about a subject that's a little bit controversial, but you know, ever since Bud Light got Dylan Mulvaney to do their can, when it comes to beer, anything's controversial at this point. You know, you're talking about things and so on and so forth. But Miller Lite, JB, Miller Lite has released a new video that is it's got reactions like crazy all over the internet. And so I thought that you and I would react to this video maybe differently, maybe the same, maybe give it a different perspective that we have on different things. So for you guys who are beer drinkers out there and you like Miller Lite, Miller Lite has just released a commercial. It's a newer commercial about, and apologize for the, I guess the foul language that they use in their commercial, how Miller is trying to make things out of shit, if I'm correct. Is that accurate to what you heard?
Well, from where I come from, dude, all good things come out of shit.
Exactly, they really do. You know, and so
shrooms
with
your garden.
With that said, we want to watch this commercial with you a little bit. We'll let it run through one time, and then we'll go back and we'll react to it a little bit with you. So I want to show you the commercial real quick. So go ahead and watch the commercial along with us, and you'll see our reactions a little bit, and then we'll go back and kind of respond to parts of the video. So
we just got done smoking this Cohiba Black in a review video on the Best Cigar Review channel.
Oh yeah.
And it's really, really good. I've been impressed with it, and I can't wait to continue smoking it while we do this.
It's a very good cigar. If you don't like strong Maduros, you like more sweeter Maduros, this is the cigar for you. Absolutely. It's a very, very good cigar. And I don't know, man. I'm thrilled to be smoking it, and it turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to be. To be honest with you, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with that. This is way, way, way better than I anticipated.
I can safely say this is my favorite Cohiba I've smoked.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not Cuban.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would probably have to agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't see how
it really is.
I don't see how I couldn't.
It's a very, very good one. So, well, let's roll that beautiful beam footage and let's react a little bit. So here we go for you guys, and let's see what we got. So. Enjoy with us if you could.
Here's a little known fact. Women were among the very first to brew beer ever. From Mesopotamia to the Middle Ages to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing. Centuries later, how did the industry pay homage to the founding mothers of beer? They put us in bikinis. Wow. Look at this shit. Wild. It's time beer made it up to women. So today, Miller Lite is on a mission to clean up not just their shit, but the whole beer industry's shit. Miller Lite has been scouring the internet for all this shit and buying it back so that they can turn it into good shit for women brewers. Literally, good shit. How, you ask? Ladies, take it away.
First, we turn the bad shit into compost. Then we feed compost to worms. Push out beautiful fertilizer.
That good shit helps farmers grow quality hops, which is then donated to women brewers to make their own really good shit.
But there's definitely more shit out there. In your attic, in the garage, in your parents' basement. Send any shit you got into Miller Lite, and they'll turn that into good shit too. Oh. So here's to women, because without us, there would be no beer.
Okay. Well, there's the commercial. There's the commercial for you. And let's. What are you thinking, JB? I mean, immediately, what's your thoughts as you go into it? What do you think?
There's definitely some accuracies in the video, right? Mm-hmm. So, I go to a local brewery, especially when my wife was gone. I would go up there a lot because it's a really pretty view. It's really quiet. There was a pizza truck that would show up called Firefly. It's a wood-fired pizza truck, and we've been to Bone House. We did a video up there. We ate barbecue and smoked cigars.
Great brewery. Great brewery. Yeah.
Oh, so good. If you're in Phoenix and you can get to Fountain Hills, Bone House is amazing.
Absolutely.
Now, however, they have a lady that works there who I've seen there a ton outside of the old guy that one of the owners. He's there all the time too. She is a like sommelier. I forget what the actual term is for a brewer that's a sommelier. but she was also an archaeologist.
Oh, okay.
So she studied archaeology in school, went over and did archaeology in the Middle East, like all over the world. But like is a huge beer lover. So she's a huge study of beer. And I've learned a lot from just watching her clips that she posts on Instagram or the videos where she does like, it's called Beers with Brukowski.
Okay.
She's a huge supporter of women breweries.
Okay.
So I learned some about where kind of the brewing started and the history of things. And that was kind of interesting to me because that was stuff I never knew about as far as the beer industry goes.
Okay. Can I ask a question about that?
For sure.
Is the lady who does the Instagrams, is she attractive?
It's subjective, right?
Okay. Would most men find her above a 7?
Close.
Okay.
That's unfair to ask me to judge that, to be honest.
I get that.
And I know where you're going with this, and with her, it doesn't count.
Well, here. I'm just saying.
Because she's a weightlifter?
Sure. All I'm saying
you know
is
what
that,
I mean?
All I'm saying is that
she's not hanging her tits out. There's your answer.
That's fine. What I'm saying, though, is Miller Lite's, proposal here is that beer companies have been exploiting women for over the last 50, 60 years. Let's just say that, right?
So I don't think that they're saying they're exploiting women. I think that they're saying that women have been overlooked, and then as it pertains to starting brewing, as it pertains to then being used as eye candy to better sell the product.
Which is, they're overlooked as brewers for the purpose of exploitation. That would be my point to what she's making in the video, is that women who started brewing, okay, and who started beer, and don't get me wrong, there's a long history of women brewers. Don't get me wrong, I know several of them. Actually, Martin Luther, who's the great reformer, if you would, his wife, Catherine, was known to be one of the best brewers in Germany. Of beer in particular. So, and it makes sense. It does make sense. Women are usually typically a little more attention to detail and so on and so forth.
Well, and they were the ones that were at home that had time to do that stuff.
Exactly.
Back then. Guys were out doing war and BS and hunting and fighting the next daimyo or whoever the hell, you know what I mean? So
exactly.
But I think there's another layer to this that you hit on a little bit.
Okay.
And it's you said that, like, I think there's another layer at what Miller Lite's doing, and I think the stab at him is like, okay, I get it. Women were used and exploited to market beer. It's not the only thing in the world that they're used to market. Let's be honest.
100%. That's 100%.
Because 80% of the industry, I'd say, uses sex to market.
I'd say probably 99%.
Okay.
So here's what I'd say. The first thing that we know about guys is we know guys are visual. Guys are visual creatures.
Sure.
We just are. So when something's beautiful and put in front of us, we tend to pay more attention to it.
Bike,
anything.
cigar.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you see something, presentation is everything. That's why when things are presented in a really cool way, even with cigars, the Cohiba Black comes in a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful black case. So it's eye catching, and even the design of them. So what I'm not suggesting is that using beauty to sell something is wrong. If you would, I think one of the things that I'm cautious about in that is
every beauty company uses beauty to sell their beauty products, bro. Come on, let's go.
I think one of the things that it trickles into is when beauty becomes sexual in order to sell it.
Yeah,
and I think that's the thing that we're trying to talk about here, and I think that's one of the things that they're hitting on in the video necessarily is that beer companies have been using sexuality and exploiting women all these years to sell beer, and they're not going to take it anymore, essentially.
Well, and that's what I was getting at, was the other layer of that too, is that now they're saying not only are you exploiting women, but you're getting a dude with a dangle to represent as a woman after you've already shoved us under the rug and then used our butts and tits to sell your beer. You're going to give it to a dude with a dick?
Yeah, dude, that's you're obviously referring to Bud Light with the Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah, so I think they're taking it out and giving them a little slap in the face with that one.
And they're competitors. So I mean, but Bud and Miller are obvious competitors, and so as a result, one of the questions is are they taking a jab at him jab at
because they're
Bud Light
saying
for
we're
that.
really supporting the women that
Right.
need supported. We're
Right.
not giving a beer can to somebody who's faking to be a woman and hoping that it boosts our sales. We're actually sending beer and the hops that we manufacture to the women to make good beer.
So here's my question. Which, by the way, I don't see anything wrong with the commercial. I think the commercial's great. You know, one of the things I think that as a guy, just being quite frank, I'm getting a little tired of is the man hating or the man. You know, men are this and men are that. And keep in mind, I probably watch a lot of videos around that, so I'm probably a little more sensitive than the average guy to it.
That YouTube algorithms got your ass.
Yeah, it does. It does for sure. You know, but I do watch a lot of YouTubes and things like that that are reaction videos to things like this, where I hear and I see something and I'm like, I wonder what that's an interesting take on that. I wonder what, women think about that. But I think there's a point where it's not. I wonder if there's a point where we're hurting men, and masculinity in general, simply by nature of making videos that, absolutely raise women to the standard that they are and the beauty that they are. But it's at the cost of what? I mean, but for example, most beer drinkers are men. I think it's 75% and 25%, if I'm correct. Last time I checked, you can go look at the stats on Google and so on and so forth, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that may fluctuate a point or two, right? But I would say on a general basis, I would say the majority is still probably men.
So you know why they market then using women's sexuality, because men are visual creatures.
It's the same reason that a McLaren has a chick on the picture, or Camel cigarettes had a chick standing there holding a freaking camel on a rope. You know what I mean? I don't know how sexy a camel is, but
yeah,
you get two camel toes in one picture, I guess.
But I think the I think the question,
technically it's 5.
If we're going to be brutally honest about it, we see sexuality and sex pouring into anything you market, everything you market. For example, women who market cigars, for certain companies that are hired by certain companies that are attractive, tend to draw more views than just a dude, if you would, smoking a cigar necessarily. Now, here's my question by that, because it trickles into our industry a little bit, right? And you've seen the same thing I have. I'm asking the question.
I'm assuming I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So here's my question. Do you think guys, because a woman is presenting something, tend to take that less serious than if a guy in the same profession presents it? Or do you think
I think it depends.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like if I went into the Harley dealership, or even in my let's back it up even more. I worked for Apple for 6 years. I worked for Geek Squad for 6 years before that.
Right.
So tech customer service. One of the places that women get disrespected the most is tech customer service.
Okay.
So it would be like if I came out and tried to sell you a MacBook computer and tell you about all the ins and outs of it, and a female stood there and told you the ins and outs of it. When it came to that, you might be a little bit more adept to listen to what the dude has to say than the female. Same thing with the automotive industry.
Right.
If a Snap-on tool driver pulls up and it's a dude versus a chick, unfortunately, per society standards, they would probably trust the dude more than they would the chick, unless they've established some sort of a relationship with that chick that has grown and that trust has been earned, right? But they would blindly give it to the dude easier. I would say so. Yes.
That's the question.
Unfortunately.
That's the question I think we have here is that do guys?
But I don't know if that works in beer.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not in the beer industry. I don't know. But I think the question is, do guys most likely trust guys with professional opinion over girls with professional opinion? Necessarily, or women with professional opinions.
I think it depends on the topic, right? Cigars could go the same way, right? If there's a lady that's on there doing cigar reviews, you might first start looking at the cigar reviews because it's a lady, and then you may find out later maybe she does really know what she's talking about, maybe she doesn't. But I would assume that the reason you started watching it from the beginning probably wasn't because you thought it was going to be knowledgeable. Unfortunately, we're not saying that we feel this way, right? We're saying that this is the way that this is what we see from the outside looking in.
Absolutely. And so I think what's interesting about Miller Lite is, or not Miller Lite, but it's Miller in general, that what they're doing,
Same flavor and half the calories.
Yeah, what they're doing is attempting at something good to level a playing field, if you would. But they're inadvertently, I wonder if they're, kind of isolating their male audience by doing that. That's the thing I wonder. And inadvertently means like they're not meaning to, but inadvertently, you have a woman coming up and explaining everything, talking about how women did this and women did that. And we're going to do this for women and that for women. And, when you hear that as a guy, you're kind of like, I wonder what's going on here. And keep this in mind. I mean, I'm not an insecure guy and, everything else like that. I think women are great and everything else like that. I've 3 women in my household. I had 3 women in my household for a long time. It was just my son and I, so, and I grew up with more women in the household than I had men in the household.
So did I.
So to say I don't know women or anything like that is kind of, I don't know, just kind of, not true. But being sensitive to this subject and understanding it, I think is, pretty important.
I think that no matter what you do, there's going to be somebody sitting on his couch going, I don't need no woman telling me they've been making beer. But at the same time, like, is that person also, it's the same thing when we were talking about the gun conversations, right?
Right.
Is that guy going to go do his research and find out that he's been lied to and that he actually really didn't know what he's talking about when it pertains to that? And educate himself a little bit on the beer and the history of beer and where it came from and what the ins and outs are, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same conversation we had with, like, when we talk about gun laws. And it's like, okay, if you're complaining that things need to change, are you going to give up some of the things that you don't want to give up to change those things?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it comes down to, I think there's going to be people that are going to be upset.
Yeah.
Does it upset me? Does it hurt my feelings? No. It doesn't make me want to go buy Miller Lite or not buy Miller Lite more. It does make me appreciative that somebody is willing to throw a little shade back at somebody else and say, you really want to help women? Maybe you can do it differently.
Ooh.
Maybe you can do it differently.
Oh, dude, that's a solid statement.
Like if I was Bud Light, and if I wanted to really support women, I would find every woman-owned brewery that I had purchased, and I would put them on blast. And if I hadn't bought any women-owned brewery, I would find one that deserves to be purchased, and I'd buy it, and I'd explain why I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, or not even buy it, right? Or find a way to help them pursue better brewing. I don't know, man. There's so many brewers guilds and things out there that can help people. A lot more than just putting somebody's face on a can.
Yeah, and before anyone says, it's easy for you to say that because you're a man-owned company. No, we're not. I own this with my parents, and part of my parents is a mom. And my mom is super active in the company.
It's mostly mom.
Yeah, it really is.
Pops just goes, I don't like that idea. Quit doing that.
In all honesty, I think that's a real. So my mom's been a very successful businesswoman, and been involved in multiple businesses, growing her own business and everything.
Still
else
is
like
involved
that.
in multiple businesses.
Yeah, most definitely. And just so you know, so this isn't like a dig at women whatsoever. I'm just asking the question. I think that by what they're doing, they're maybe inadvertently isolating a male audience that could have a weird reaction to it, necessarily. And I think that's one of the things that I as we're looking at it and as we're kind of going through it, I kind of go, that's interesting. I never thought about that. And the history of brewing and what have you. I don't know all the exacts behind it and everything else like that. I know on some of the reactions to this video, there's guys that are just laying things down in the comments that are super, super long. If you go back to that video, you can actually see the comments, and the comments are just very, very long on there, which is, fine. But I think it's one of those things that when you're looking at it and you're thinking about it and so on and so forth, it's something that maybe we did forget, when it comes to brewing beer. So, and here's the weird thing. I'm not a big beer drinker at all.
That's true. Yeah, you're not. You're not.
I'm not a big beer drinker at all. I like bourbon and scotch and more liquor than I do beer. But from time to time, and actually this past weekend, my church had a big guys event, and they asked me to explain cigars to them. So they had beer and liquor and everything. I had something called a Kentucky Mule. You ever heard of that before?
Yes, I have.
My gosh, was that delicious? Bourbon, ginger beer, rosemary, simple syrup, and it's just amazing. It really was. But I usually take my bourbon straight and everything. That's the first time I had like a mixed drink with bourbon in a very long time. It is very, very good. But I like old fashions and everything else like that. So when it comes to beer, I drink it sporadically, if that. Or if I'm sitting down with buddies and that's all there really is, I'll have a beer.
I think I think what's going to make something like that commercial and more things that are going to continue to come forward as more and more companies show their support for women. I think what sucks for men especially is society wants to challenge your masculinity, right?
Yeah.
And without getting down the rabbit hole of Alice in Wonderland and the rabbit and eating the little candies, because I eat a lot of those little candies at the bottom of deep, dark holes, I'm telling you, and I follow a lot of white rabbits.
He does.
But I'm telling you right now, the white rabbit takes you exactly where you want to go. And one of the things is like, you know, everything from the food that you're eating, the processed the food, to the pesticides that are being used, to the purified water that you buy at the store is all geared towards continually to emasculate men, to make you not fertile. I mean, watch Bill Gates, watch all these crazy elites. They talk about there's too much human population, right? Like, without going down the rabbit hole, right? There is a lot in culture, inside visibly and not visible, that are trying to emasculate men.
Right.
So, unfortunately, when something like this comes out, that's probably more good than anything.
Sure.
A lot of men are going to look at it like they're taking more shots at us. They're taking more shots at men. They're shoving men down again to elevate women higher than men again. But that and unfortunately,
but that's been happening over the last 20 years in particular, so harshly towards guys. I mean, you can only poke the lion so long before the lion actually stands up and eats you. You know, so I think that's part of what's happening, is that the reason the video is getting the reactions that it does from other channels and what have you, is simply because men feel so repressed all the time. We have to be politically correct about every little thing, and if we say something that might be off color and we didn't even mean it, we don't even know it's off color anymore. Yeah, you could say something like, I don't like that, and what was that, because it's pink? No, I don't like pink. I just don't like pink. I have nothing against the color pink. I just don't like pink. I'm not going to wear pink. You know, and somebody goes, well, that's because you're not sensitive and you're not cultured. That's something recently that was said to me, is that I'm not cultured enough, and I thought that was really weird. You know, because culture. I
would love for somebody to tell that to me, bro.
Right.
The life I've lived, dude. I would love. I grew up with a Greek stepfather. Grew up with Native American grandmothers. Grew up with hillbilly family members. Like yeah, dude. Try to tell me I'm not cultured, man. I grew up in the ghetto, in the country,
and it's kind of weird because I would say. I would venture to say I'm pretty cultured.
You grew up in same as me too in some ways.
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting. And then being out of the country before and serving in third world countries and things like that,
traveling and giving speeches at schools everywhere, going to Compton.
All over America. You know, so and
we're very blessed for that, though.
I mean, and I absolutely love it. So when you hear that, I mean, I do think masculinity is challenged more than it ever has been. I think it's in danger, of being, reimagined in a way where people are just confused. Normal guys are just confused. They feel like we don't have permission to be men, anymore. And so I think that's because we're in the culture that we're in today, where a lot of guys feel that way. To your point, I think what's happening is they're going to feel inadvertently isolated. They're going to feel like, we can't brew or anything like that. We're going to show you and everything like that. So I wonder what Coors is going to do. I wonder what all these other guys are going to do. And it's interesting because in the beer in particular, I wonder, because we were talking about this off camera, I wonder how many beer companies use sex to sell that are kind of new startups.
Oh, yeah. You made a valid point when we were just kind of chatting about what we were going to talk about. And it was, we were talking about how, oh yeah, because Miller in that commercial, Miller Lite is ripping up all the old posters, right? They're saying, send us the dirty shit. We're gonna make fertilizer out of it, and then we're gonna make good shit out of it, right?
Right.
A company like Miller Lite can afford to do that because people already know who Miller Lite is, right? They don't need a show pony to tell you who Miller Lite is at this point in their life, right?
Right.
However, if I'm a new brewer and I'm starting a new brew company and I need to get people in the door, chicks serving alcohol in bikinis is going to get more people in the door than you standing there serving people drinks.
Hey, now. Hey now.
It just is.
Hey now.
Unless people want to come
Hey
see
now.
you for some reason, you know what I mean? Because you're Brad. But no, but
Yeah.
seriously, like, unfortunately, it's the truth. And
Yeah.
if the statistics are right, and 75% more men drink beer, then 50% of those are going to go, girls in bikinis.
Yeah. Well, it's the reason that Hooters outsells BW3s.
And Hooters
when they're right
isn't
next to
even,
it.
they're not even the same as they used to be anymore. And I don't
yeah.
even like their wings.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's
Don't inhale.
sorry. I do think that there's a very good point to that in how sex sells. And it'd be interesting to do, because I know that recently in our culture, in the cigar culture, in the cigar industry, several, and this is not new, but several different companies have incorporated using female models, for their brand necessarily, because it gets more attention, from guys in particular,
This is what blows my mind. And it sucks because I think we look at it as more of a negative because of where our morals and our values are rooted, right?
Yeah.
And there's a local girl that posts on Instagram in the Phoenix area, and I think she's actually, I don't even think she's into dudes, to be honest. I think she said something like that one time in her Instagram post because, dudes are thirsty and they won't leave her alone. And, but she would smoke cigars at a local cigar shop a lot. And she would post and she would show pictures of it and yada, yada, yada. But I saw a progression. I saw what she was wearing get skimpier. I saw the videos that she was making get more revealing. And then all of a sudden, it's, see the rest of my photo shoot smoking this cigar on my exclusive content page.
Oh, okay.
So it's like,
and how many guys are going there for the cigar? Let's just be honest, right?
well, here's what I'm getting at. At what point is the industry the laughing stock because they're getting used to help support these people making money doing that stuff? Who's the GOAT in that? Who's really the person that's getting laughed at in that?
I think women who are smart understand they have sexual power. There's no doubt about that.
She's more financially free than she ever would have been before.
Sure. And but with that power, comes, I mean, not to quote Spider-Man, but comes great responsibility. Meaning that if what you win them with is what you keep them with, meaning if you win them with your body and then you're starting to talk about cigars, guys aren't going to be looking at your cigars or taking the cigar serious necessarily, or even your information serious. And that's not to say that, we shouldn't have beautiful women, reviewing cigars or what have you like that. What I am saying, though, is when you use your sexuality, which is power, when you use your sexuality to sell something, and then when you're trying to talk about it and guys don't take you serious, but you won them with your sexual power, and now you're trying to explain to them why the cigar is so good, guys might be a little bit skeptical about that. Does she really know what she's talking about? Versus two guys who aren't trying to win you with anything but just our commentary, I guess, on cigars and our knowledge and our history, that we have on that necessarily. I think guys tend to when it comes to listening about something, listen to a guy necessarily who's not trying to win them with sex, but just be honest about it necessarily. I guess it'd be the same thing if you're waiting and you get a real flirty waitress. You get a real flirty waitress. Have you ever had it before where a waitress is very, very flirty for the sake of a tip?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Nothing's clicking, but I'm sure.
Yeah,
There's no way I haven't.
I've had that before. My wife's gotten offended by that. Yeah, most definitely. Like, why are you flirting with my husband right here in front of me? What are you, nuts? And things like that. I think that's important, but they're doing it for the tip, necessarily. And if you base the tip on the service, not the flirting, that's more accurate towards the tip, So, but women will use their sexual power for that. Not all women will, and so on, but they will. And I think one of the things that I do appreciate about the Miller Lite thing is they're bringing attention to the fact that that's an issue in our society today.
Yeah.
That is a big issue in the society. For women to be taken serious as brewers, you can't use your sexuality to sell it.
Yeah, that's a hard stand, man. And in a way, I hope it works out for Miller, because in a long way, but here's the crappy thing about it, right? Like, you can't fault those people for those people or the women or whoever's taking advantage of the fact that they need to be used for these marketing campaigns to make money. So now, do models get upset that now they're not being utilized to make money because maybe they don't have a problem being utilized in this way because they value the money more.
Well,
which is kind of how we started. Well, that was more of the video.
On the extreme, if you would, on the extreme, you got porn models who come out of porn.
Yeah.
And when they're talking about the porn industry.
Yeah, most of them didn't enjoy the time.
Right. When they're talking about the porn industry, they're like, this is awful.
It wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
I was drugged half the time or anything else like that. I mean, they'll go into all these different things, and you're going, well, that's what you got. And then guys aren't taking them serious. They're like, well, you were paid for that time, and that was for my viewing and things like that. I think that's one of the things that, when a woman uses her power and a man takes advantage of that sexual power, and then she complains about that's really on her. If you would, it really is on her. I'm not talking about rape and everything else like that. What I'm talking about is a woman being upset that a man got his jollies off what, she did on OnlyFans or something else like that.
It's interesting to see somebody take a stand this way, and I'm interested to see how it's going to go and if other companies will follow suit or other industries that maybe were a little bit more women created or women backboned, essentially, right?
That's the whole beauty industry. Beauty industry,
for sure. Well, Victoria's Secret's owned by a dude.
Oh, that's right. There's a secret. Victoria's Secret is,
and it's a dude
in Ohio. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was Ohio. That's right. It's. I kind of want to flip the script just a minute. We have some.
Did you know there's
a
song about that? A girl wrote a song about that. I know Victoria's Secret.
Oh, I did hear that song. Yeah.
It's a pretty catchy song. It really is. I'll show you a little clip real quick.
I know Victoria's Secret. Girl, you wouldn't believe. She's an old man who lives in Ohio, making money off of girls like me. Cashing in the body issues, selling skin and bones with big boobs. I know Victoria's Secret. She was made up by a dude.
On the topic of like marketing and things like that, something else interesting has happened in like my circle, not like my circle directly, but like the circle of things that I keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
And sports is one of them, right?
Yeah.
What about the Ja Morant stuff, dude?
The what?
The Ja Morant stuff.
Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Refresh my memory.
You may not. You don't follow basketball.
No, I don't.
So like beer, Brad also does not care about basketball in any shape or form.
I don't.
Ja Morant is an NBA player that plays for the Memphis Grizzlies, I believe.
Okay.
And he got in trouble right before the playoffs because he lost a game or during the playoffs, one of the two. And he was in a strip club that evening, but he posted on Instagram of him like holding a gun by his head. So the NBA suspended him for I think like 5 games or something, and then allowed him to come back. Well, his season ended, and then yesterday he's on Instagram live, on somebody else's Instagram live, and they're driving down the road, and he does it again. And his homie almost saved him on it because he turns the camera real quick and like hides it, and he's probably telling him like, "Dude, put that away. What are you doing?" So this is the second time in 3 months that he's been, caught doing something live, and obviously the NBA is really upset about it because this is a guy that is a very high image person in the NBA right now, and somebody that is very focused on in the marketing of the NBA.
Right.
It's really interesting. I'd be curious to see what happens with that in the way, but also like with the NIL stuff with college sports and how people get paid, in the way that like, if I'm a good-looking girl, I'm going to get more money in the NIL than if I'm not a good-looking girl.
100%. It's going to happen. 100%. Good-looking girls get more money. 100%. Beautiful people get more money. Well, that's a stat.
It's
that's
off of name and likeness.
Yeah.
If you're beautiful, you're going to have a higher likeness.
Yes. Attractive people make more money than unattractive people. That's like a stat. You can actually see that. Yeah, it's a stat. It really is. So
it's just interesting to me.
And I'm not saying I'm attractive, so at all. I still can't believe my wife isn't partially blind marrying me. But
that's why you're still married to her.
I know, right? But in all honesty, I think that's part of what we're talking about here is the marketing, the marketing, the image, and everything else like that. And when a company does that and goes full on for the sex marketing aspect of things, does that lose credibility in your mind?
Well,
You know, do you kind of go, nah, man, that's they didn't have to stoop to that just to get my attention. They could actually make a better product, you know, that would compete in the marketplace to get my attention.
it's just, it's so crazy. You don't really realize like how your actions, like Bud Light, there's no way they had any indication of what their actions were gonna correlate. So now I'm curious to see what these actions of Miller Lite are gonna correlate. And then I'm interested to see what the actions of the NBA are going to correlate as far as how to handle the social climate right now.
Well, I think that women being frustrated about the transgender thing that you're talking about, and about other men being involved, other transgender guys being involved in sports and winning, you know, the
and
events
representing women.
and representing women, I think they have all the right in the world to be upset about that, and they should be upset about that. It's not fair. I mean, we know that when it comes to athletics, that men's bone density and muscle structure is very different than women's, just biologically speaking. You know, so regardless of whether you stand on the transgender thing or not, it's just unfair. It really is. And so when the swimmer basically who tied, I think who was a man who tied with a woman, and they gave it to him because he was transgender and he was being quote unquote brave, you know, about that. I mean, that's a women should be upset about that. That's a very big thing. That's a real big thing that Quinta, who's one of our girls who works here from time to time, and you guys seen her on video and everything, that she was very, very upset about that. Well, she's like, it's hard enough to be a woman in society, to be taken serious, and then when a man comes in to a woman's sport, you know, and dominates. I mean, we're trying our hardest as it exists.
Yeah,
you know. So,
and I don't want to speak for Quinta too much on this, but Quinta is a black woman. That is one of the most. Talk about somebody that had to fight for everything that they ever had to have, right? You're talking.
She's a smart, intelligent, educated black woman.
You're talking voting.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah.
Women had to take forever, and she's black. So, you know, women got the right to vote, but black people didn't have the right to vote, right? So it's so crazy about, you know, when you look at the struggles in somebody who is a woman and they're open about what they go through, and then you see somebody else that pops up and wants to say that they went through the same struggles that somebody else went through, and she from my conversation with her, she just can't relate to that.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
And she feels slighted. She's like, you know, all these African Americans in history that were the first ones to invent something or the first one to come up with something are you know, you don't learn about that stuff. And I think what Miller Lite is trying to say is there's other things that you don't learn about, and you know,
and we want to honor.
This is what it is.
And we want to honor women, not just exploit them.
Yeah,
which I think is the good part of the commercial in that. And I think the great part of commercial is that part for me. The bad part is that I think it can inadvertently isolate men and make them angry, and that's simply because, you know, we already feel isolated and angry, you know, from the culture that we're living in, because, you know, it emasculates us continually. You know, we're told to get in line. We're told to be. We're in a society where it's a lose-lose. Where you're chivalrous, you open the door for a woman, and she goes, "I don't need you to open the door for me." And I'm like, I'm just trying to open the door and be nice. You know, I'm not trying to be, you know, a jerk or something.
I don't think I've ever had that happen before, but I guarantee somebody has.
I absolutely 100% have before. And I'm like, my God, I just really, you know, I didn't slam in your face. I'm like, well, go ahead and walk through the door, you know, and she walks through the door, and I'm like, man, that's just
somebody you knew, or just somebody you were holding the door for?
Someone I was holding the door for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at a restaurant. Yeah, 100%. And that's just a normal thing to do for anybody. And if a woman was holding the door for me, I'd walk through it. You know, I'm like, thank you so much, I appreciate it. You know, so I think that's why I think the commercial will have the reaction it gets from men, by nature of the fact that you're kind of like, man, we're getting to this point in our society where it's eggshells with everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's anything you say is an eggshell conversation, particularly about men, women, gender, and sexuality. It becomes an eggshell conversation. But on this podcast, we don't mind eggshell conversations, and we'd love to hear what you think about the eggshell conversation down below. So drop us a comment on your thoughts about the video and everything like that, what you thought about the reaction and everything else like that, and what was your reaction to Miller Lite's video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So from the Cut Light and Smoke podcast, I have been Bradley, and this has been
JB. And
we, again, appreciate your guys viewing. And so if you would drop a comment below, like, share, and subscribe, all those kind of things, we'd love to hear your feedback on that. And so how's the cigar in for you? Tell me about the cigar. You're in the final third. I'm in the final third. Mine's coming apart a little bit, so Probably because I'm biting down on it. But what about yours? Tell me about it.
It's really good. Once it hits about the second, third, it hasn't changed much more for me. But it's staying really solid, really good smoke. Way better than I expected it. I'll be honest. For when you said you wanted to do a Cohiba, I was kind of like, oh goodness, a Cohiba,
Right.
But probably one of the better ones that I've ever smoked. That's not Cuban.
Yeah, this cigar is absolutely great. I absolutely love it, and it's the Cohiba Black. If you guys are trying to figure out which one it is, it's this one right here, so you can see exactly. I don't know if you can see it or not. If I do this, or it's the Cohiba Black by Cohiba. It's red dot black. So Dominican Republic double broadleaf wrapper and binder, and an absolute beautiful cigar. Sweet, creamy, rich, dark. It's everything, but it's not peppery. I'll tell you that much. And so,
No pepper.
well, guys, thanks again for watching the Cut Line Smoke podcast. Again, drop your comment below on what you thought about the podcast and other topics you would love to see us on the see us cover on the podcast. And with that, we're out of here like last year. Peace.